This is definitely the highlight of today. It's the announcement of the launch of the Tech for Trade Alliance by Prosper Africa. And to do so, I'm very happy to invite to the stage Dr. Monde Muyangwa, who's Assistant Administrator in the Bureau for Africa USAID. She has over 25 years of senior level experience in Africa and US-Africa relations, including working with African governments, international partners, civil society, academia, and the US and African private sector. She most recently worked as the director of the Africa program at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, where she led programs and research designed to analyze and offer practical, actionable options for addressing some of Africa's most critical issues. Welcome, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right. It's an honor for me to be with you here today for the launch of the Prosper Africa Tech for Trade Alliance. Across Africa, technology is transforming how people gain access to information, goods, and services, as well as opportunities. And the rapid evolution of Africa's digital ecosystem offers tremendous potential to spur economic growth that creates jobs and accelerates development across the African countries for millions of people on the continent. We live in an interconnected world, and through Africa's digital transformation, we're seeing new connections taking root. New markets are opening up for US exports and services, as well as for intra-Africa trade. And new partnerships are forming among African governments, the US private sector, educational institutions, and the African diaspora. These transformations are building an inclusive and resilient African digital ecosystem, which is leading to increased productivity, competitiveness, and service delivery. Africa is now touted as the world's fastest growing mobile phone market, and mobile phone platforms are changing the way companies do business. By enhancing digital financial services, transactions are now more cost-effective, more accessible, more secure, and more transparent. And these technological innovations can help the underserved in Africa to weather financial shocks and to lead more resilient lives. I was born and raised on the African continent, and sometimes I look at all of this and oh my, how I wish my grandmother were here to be a part of all of this and see the transformation. The struggles of living in the rural areas, a lack of communications, lack of health services, even just lack of just being able to go out and get commodities. But we see a rapidly transforming African continent. And fintech and technology are playing a critical role in that. So I am thrilled to be with you here today at the African Fintech Summit to officially launch the Prosper Africa Tech for Trade Alliance. As you know, Prosper Africa is the White House's initiative to increase two-way trade and investment between the United States and African countries. Beyond increasing two-way trade, this Take Alliance is fully aligned with Africa's own development aspirations. It supports continent-wide initiatives such as the African Union's digital strategy, as well as the African Continental Free Trade Area. This is a win-win proposition. So in collaboration with USAID and the 16 other US government agencies, we are partnering with major US and African companies to fuel Africa's digital revolution. Indeed, the United States is continuing to deliver on our commitments made at the US Africa Leaders Summit last December. The Tech Alliance, which was announced in the deal room at the 2022 US Africa Business Forum, is one such example. It advances the goals of two signature White House initiatives: Prosper Africa, which increases two-way trade and investment between the United States and Africa, and the new Digital Transformation with Africa initiative, also known as DTA, which was launched at the Leaders Summit and will strengthen digital access, literacy, and digital enabling environments across the continent. The Alliance aims to accelerate e-commerce and digital trade in Africa and address legal, regulatory, and logistical bottlenecks. By leveraging leading US and African companies' technological assets, services, and expertise, the Alliance will, 1, grow African trade and e-commerce flows in goods and services. 2, promote African firms and economies' trade and productivity. 3, build the African workforce technological talent to thrive as digital service providers and create their own technological companies. And lastly, promote a better policy-enabling environment for trade and investment in Africa. The inaugural Alliance members are made up of world-class companies such as Cargill, Google, MasterCard, Visa, DHL, UPS, FedEx, PayPal, Kasha, and many more. Many of our members are in the audience today for this launch. I would love to see you wave your hands if you are here with us this afternoon. Yeah, I see you, I acknowledge you, and I thank you all for the partnership. Thank you, thank you. Digital ecosystems are stronger and more sustainable when they work for everyone. We are excited about leveraging our collective efforts to reach our own goals and empower all individuals to achieve their own aspirations. Again, we thank you for your partnership and collaboration. Thank you.
Hello. One second, technical difficulties. Do I turn this? Ignore the side here. Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Bixel, and I'm the founder and CEO of Kasha.
Hi, everyone. Natasha Muyeni, Chief Health Officer at Kasha.
We'd like to tell you a true story about someone that both of us know very well.
So we're going to talk about Rosary. So Rosary is a fellow Rwandan woman. She's a mother of 4, and she was the early customer of Kasha back like 6 years ago, and later on she became an agent. She's now one of the top agents that we have in the country. So Rosary, several years back, really went through a rough time. She was going through a divorce. She lost her mother in that time, and she was also pregnant. Unfortunately, she had preeclampsia, so she had hypertension at later stage of the pregnancy. And so she was hospitalized for a time. After delivery, she didn't recover from hypertension, so it became a chronic disease.
So if you look across the continent and just how 80% of the products are received, most of them come through the public sector, and they're donor subsidized. Now, this is, most of the donor funding is focused on things like HIV, malaria, tuberculosis. But what we're actually seeing is a spike in diseases like hypertension and diabetes. And so going back to Rosalie, what happened was that the public sector had very little access to those type of products. They didn't have rapid tests. So Rosalie had to go into the hospital twice a week, get her blood pressure taken, get her glucose, blood sugars taken. And she felt sick, she felt tired, she was now a single mother of 4 children, and she was not able to work. So it was very difficult for her economically. And that's what many people have to go through. They're turning to the private sector, but the private sector has varying degrees of access as well as quality. Now, the great news, as you all know in this room, is that the continent is developing rapidly. And over the last 10 years, there's been tremendous growth. Even looking at Rwanda is listed as one of the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world. If you just look at the startup sector, venture capitalists are investing over $5 billion every year into African tech startups. Some of those are going on to IPO on the New York Stock Exchange and being valued at over $1 billion US, world-class unicorn status. And these companies are creating jobs at scale across all socioeconomic levels. So from low income to high income. So the purchasing power across all socioeconomic levels is rising. The middle class is increasing. And then diseases like hypertension and diabetes are also spiking. So what you see then is a gap in the market. You see demand for products, you see ability and willingness to pay, but you don't have access to the products you need and want. But there's a solution, and it's Kasha. Kasha is East Africa's leading platform for last-mile access to health. With Kasha, anyone can use a basic phone to browse through products, order and pay, and we deliver around the country in urban and rural areas across East Africa. We're also expanding this year to South Africa and West Africa. So whether you're a consumer customer, whether you are a reseller, a pharmacy, a hospital, a clinic, you can get the pharmaceuticals or the fast-moving consumer goods you need, and you can get them delivered to you. So Kasha is a digital platform. And what that means is as we partner with pharmaceutical manufacturers, they actually have end-to-end visibility of those supply chains, so that basically we can see which SKU, which batch is reaching which parts of the country. They know the demographics of the customer that's ordering those products, their purchasing behavior, their purchasing history. And Kasha also offers financial services solutions. So we offer credit to resellers and hospitals, and that's really important for those that especially deal with insurance. As a purpose-driven company, Kasha is also a fast-growing business and aiming and really actually working towards disrupting the global health industry, making it consumer-driven, making it data-driven, reaching the last mile, and optimized for women as the target customer segment, the most influential customer that unlocks the rest of the population. And as core to our model, we also employ mostly women, but also men in low-income communities as Kasha agents. We train thousands in each country, and they're able to all have this flexible work where they serve as face of Kasha in the community, onboarding customers onto a digital platform and delivering products to the last mile. I'm very excited today to announce that Kasha is partnering with Prosper Africa as part of the Africa Tech for Trade initiative. We'll be expanding Kasha's platform to, especially in the area of diabetes and hypertension, to ensure that people who need to be tested, people who need information around how to best care for themselves, people who need the products, get it to exactly where they want. And we're also partnering with pharmaceutical manufacturers to ensure that genuine quality products are available and affordable to everybody who needs them.
So what does this mean to Rosalie? It means that Rosalie can now access the product and the care she needs to be able to live a healthy life, but also as an agent. This means she can be able not only to go to the community, raise awareness, but also do the last mile distribution of this medication and products, and alongside with other agents, be really able to make the change in the community that they need to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a beautiful presentation. I think that that's exactly why we've started the Tech for Trade initiative, is to help companies like Kasha innovate and deliver these important services through Africa. That was just wonderful. I'm Barbara Kochwar. I work with Visa. I'm the executive director of the Visa Economic Empowerment Institute. And I'm just so pleased to be here. I'm a little bit frightened to see that. So maybe we'll move to the next slide. But I'm just so pleased to be here as a partner in the Tech for Trade Alliance. And we're here really because we are invested in Africa and in helping to spur the innovation environment there. During the 2022 US-Africa Business Forum, alongside the US-Africa Leaders Summit in December, our CEO announced a pledge to invest $1 billion in the continent. And that pledge really came out of a very deep conviction of the potential for Africa, for growth, and the commitment is aimed at advancing resilient, innovative, and inclusive economies across the continent. The pledge will further scale Visa's operations in Africa and will help enable greater access to digital payments as an entry point for expanding formal financial services for individuals and for companies. Over the past decade, and I don't think I really need to say this, I think you've all lived this, and many of the companies that are here are part of the growth of this dynamic. But there's been a revolution in financial inclusion. Companies such as Kasha are helping to spur that financial inclusion into inclusion in other areas of the economy, such as healthcare services, which will have a multiplier effect. And we're so proud to be part of that multiplier effect. Financial inclusion over the past couple of decades, I suspect that most of you have looked at the World Bank's Global Findex database, and so you know that the percent of the adult population with a financial account has more than doubled, which is pretty significant. Visa was part of the Universal Financial Access Pledge to enhance universal financial access and continues to work towards this goal. There's also been a revolution in the ability to use digital payments. More people are able to make and receive digital payments. It's gone from about a quarter to about half of the population on average in the continent. Of course, there's still much more room to grow, and companies in this room are working on doing that. There's also been a revolution in trade, and digitally deliverable services have grown significantly by about 10 points in the last 3 to 4 years, largely as a result of the pandemic. But a large number of the beneficiaries of this are also small women-led businesses, such as the one that we just saw. And I think one of the priorities of this alliance is to make sure that these small women-led businesses are able not just to survive, but to thrive and to continue inspiring others. Digitally delivered services now comprise about a third of all services exports in the continent. This is still less than in other developing countries and less than in the global average, but it's grown significantly. Now, we know that challenges remain in the region. One of the objectives of the alliance is to help figure out ways that the public and the private sector can work together to alleviate some of these challenges. We know that with economic headwinds, protection tends to increase. in terms of trade. And one of the objectives of the Alliance also is to talk about how to maintain an environment that allows for continued operation. Looking across the globe, restrictions on cross-border data are on the rise. This, of course, makes it more difficult for companies such as the ones that we've seen to continue to operate. Now, this not only has implications for individual entrepreneurs and for the global trading system, but it has severe and significant implications for companies. The World Bank, in their 2020 World Development Report, estimated that digital restrictions curtail productivity by about 4.5%. And that has serious implications for per capita GDP and for overall growth. Other studies have estimated negative impacts on trade and confirm the productivity decline. So in this environment, no policymaker wants to leave any percentage point of growth on the table. Overlapping regulations as companies and as countries start to look and catch up to the digital trade environment can also have deleterious effects on particularly small companies, but also on overall growth. So advancing e-commerce and further enhancing digitization, I think, is everybody's goal in this room. We're so pleased to be able to be part of this alliance that wants to advance opportunity, digital skills, resilience, and security. And so I just wanted to say that we are super pleased to be part of this and pass it over to Elizabeth to, I think, formally launch the Tech for Trade Alliance. Thank you.
I'm going to make this super quick because I know I'm standing between you and lunch, so I don't want to do that. But I do want to thank both Visa and Kasha. I think they did a lovely job, and they're just illustrative of what we're trying to do in this alliance. My name is Elizabeth Blacklin, and I am a senior advisor for information, communication, and technology with Prosper Africa. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the type of projects we're focused on, and then hand it off. We are basically focused on doing projects in several key sectors. That would include supply chain and logistics solutions, digital payments and trade finance, e-commerce, policy enablement, and then, of course, digital skills and training. So those are the sectors. We're willing to expand upon them. We're obviously touching upon healthcare as well, as you saw in the Kasha example. I just want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank our Alliance members. I want to thank our future prospective Alliance members. And I want to direct you, if you have questions, we'd love to engage you and see if we can work together. If you would go to the Prosper Africa booth and leave your contact information and your business card, we would love to get back to you. And if you want to look for future activities and announcements, please go to our website at prosperafrica.gov. So I want to thank our organizers, IBEX Frontier. I want to thank our implementing partner, NextTrade. And I want to invite you all to lunch, and some of us will gather afterward. Thank you very much.